Okay. I wonder if it's started. I always gotta ask if I'm live or something. Hmm. All right. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, since I'm live now, I think shit would be a lot easier. Let me put on my shit that I'm live, so everybody knows I'm live. Feel me? You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm putting down. Mm, You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Really, really, really. Mhm. All right. I was finna do some crazy shit, but it's been all right. All right, let's see what we on here. Mhm. Okay. All right. So let's see what we got here. Hold on. That is a good question right there. Oh, I'm gonna be real. I gotta watch season two. Hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking about making Clark and Eve grow closer for real. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have a Clark and easy, definitely a little closer. She finna get them, you know, she gonna be getting them Kryptonian back shots, you know what I'm saying? All right, let's read what you got, bro. You probably cooking up, man. Hmm. Okay. A depowered Clark wearing steel armor. Could be. Oh, I see what you're doing there. Paying like homage to John Henry Irons, Steel Irons, I think that is. Yeah, I'm still on my Superman lore and shit. Okay. So um, a depowered Clark. Oh, because in that universe, maybe they knew about kryptonite and different versions of it. How gold can like permanently um take away Superman's powers or something like that. Because like when it comes to like kryptonite, I'm using like Smallville uh logic, if that makes sense. How Smallville works with the kryptonite and stuff. So that's what I'm basically doing. I'm going by Smallville logic and using the kryptonite how they go there because I know if we're using like Smallville terms, uh, um, blue kryptonites, what is it? Blue kryptonite takes away your powers, like you know, it could temporarily take away your powers, but but it mostly affects Bizarro. While while um, blue kryptonite, um, what is it? Blue kryptonite on normal Kryptonians doesn't have an effect on it. You know what I mean? And what is it? What is it? Oh yeah, blue kryptonite. You know, blue kryptonite also like reverses effects of green kryptonite. If y'all didn't know that, so yeah, it's just like things like that. So we can definitely work something out with that. Definitely work something out with that. So yeah, what else? Clark helps Eve in episode 4, so she doesn't nearly get killed. Get civilians killed. Okay. Yeah. Honestly, I'm about to. I know this street might get copyrighted, but fuck it. We finna watch season 2 right now. On me, bro. We finna do it. What website? This F movies putting y'all on game. Oh shit. They got season 2 and season, yeah. We finna get copyrighted in this bitch. We finna get copyrighted, bro. We are gonna get copyrighted. Dog, we are finna get, I'm finna get copyrighted off that ass, bro. Gets his powers and stuff.
Alright, someone murdered the Guardians of the Globe last.
Superman, I skipped over this part with Alan the alien. Urath. Urath, I forgot he said Urath. I thought this would be an alternate timeline. So with this one, I'll probably open it up with with them, being and Mm, yeah, kind of figured out what happened. Oh shit. Yeah, I kind of figured that shit was gonna be copyrighted though. Yeah, I figured that shit was gonna get copyrighted though. Okay, so maybe we could avoid copy. I told you that shit was gonna get copyrighted, bro. Okay, we could do like a live reaction of it, I guess. With this part, I believe that I would say that for this part, since this is like a different universe, that Immortal Man was holding them back, and Clark was like the really last line of defense, so they haven't taken over the Earth yet because of Clark's presence and how strong he is. Oh shit, y'all didn't hear me, did y'all? All right, I forgot I gotta be all up over here like this. All right, hold on. Let me get something. I'll come back real quick. Okay, let's see if there's any way I could get around this copyright shit. Okay, so they find out. All right, cool. I'm gonna go get a drink and then I'm gonna come back. Damn, I'm still getting, bro. Honestly, I kind of figured this shit would happen because I'm trying. I kind of figured this shit would happen. Getting copyrighted out the ass, man. Fuck it, bro. We just gonna look at the clips there. Fuck it. I tried. I tried. Trying to see if there's like a way that I could get around a copyright shit, man. Fuck. Cause if I had like a Twitch or a Kick something, I probably I would legit live stream and watch the fucking whole season 2 with y'all. But I ain't got a I ain't got a Twitch yet. All right, so since the stream's back, I'm gonna be real, bro. YouTube not fucking with me trying to live stream Invincible right now. So fuck it. We just gonna look at clips there, cause yeah, they kicking my ass right now, man. Yeah, but since I got my drink and stuff, we finna yeah, y'all check it up in the live stream, man. Y'all finna we finna make this shit work. So so for season 2, let's see, let's see. I'm just looking at what y'all said earlier. So for let's zoom in for this. So obviously we want Clark and Eve to get closer, right? And in an alternate universe, since it takes place in an alternate universe, depower Clark, right? Depower Clark. So we're gonna say that it took them a little bit longer to depower Clark since they had to figure out which kryptonite can permanently take his powers. And then after they, trapped him with the green, they used the gold to depower him. And, at that same time, for Clark to escape, he used like a seismic sound thing to weaken him, right? And that's how he escaped. And he created an armor. So we're gonna make this Clark like a tech jacket Clark. So that will be something that we can do with that. All right, right, right. Um, let's see. So, uh, so he would technically be like wearing this, I guess. I wish I could like hold on. Type size. So it would be more like like this. John Henry Iron, since he has like the super powered version. Something like that. Or let's see. Or maybe the suit from like what is it? Lois. Or the suit for Superman and Lois that Captain Luther had. Like some fly shit like that that he built and that he built after he gets the power. So he gets like some type of suit like that. Yeah, that sounds pretty fire. All right, so we pretty much got that covered, right? And then episode three. Hold on, let me look at the been so long. I'm not asking for all that, bro. Why the fuck did it take the Yahoo? I ain't asked for all that, man. Okay, not the episode recap I was expecting, but it's crazy how Eve was moving like a D1 demon in her origin story, and now she's just like, and now she's just like, not moving the same no more. That's pretty much what's going on. So we could look at that and see what we got going on. So we know for season two that they step into the multiverse, right? Yeah, they step into the multiverse, so it's really whatever, you know, whatever happens with that happens with that. So yeah, dang. But yeah, we could do that. Definitely do that. Okay, let's see what else we got over here. So we already got the depowered Clark situation. Uh, Supergirl. Okay, but how would that work? Because how would we incorporate Supergirl? Because if we're going by her origin, she's still trapped in a Phantom Zone in her origin story. And she, cause she's still in a Phantom Zone. So how would we incorporate that into you know, the whole thing? I figure something out. That's too easy. Be on my LeBron shit. You know what I mean? Be on my LeBron shit. What are the secrets? Let's see. Let's search this shit up. Let's do this. Oh shit. What are the secrets do? Let me look at it. What are the secrets like? Okay. So they're the parasites that were on Mars. Okay. And powers and abilities. Oh, so their weakness is tough skin. This is damn near Starro. Starro the star that is basically this is basically Starro. That's crazy. I was right, and it said Starro the Conqueror. That's basically what it is, right? Okay, so they're basically alien parasites. So they wouldn't affect Clark since, can't pierce his skin unless you got like kryptonite or a magic sword or something like that. Okay. And Clark being a space engineer. Yeah, we could redact that. We could retcon some shit, I'll just go on the timeline and change some shit. So when we start season two, do another what is it? Okay, so I would say that in season one, Supergirl, Kara gets out of the Phantom Zone, crash lands on a planet with with hmm, she basically gets out, you know, discovers that she needs to find Kal-El, aka Clark, because in her mind she still thinks that Clark is a baby, and so with that, she flies to where Earth is because she has her coordinates there. So she flies to Earth, meets Alan the alien. Alan tells her there's another Kryptonian on Earth before he gets mollywopped by all the Ultralights. And she goes to offline to find Clark. Um, we'll say that Clark helps Eve in episode 4. Um, that he will meet his cousin Kara. Um, and what else? Clark. Clark teaches Kara how to, basically control her powers and, you know, not like, you know, basically not destroy shit accidentally, if that makes sense. Um, and so after Clark shows Kara the ropes, she stays. um, she stays with the Guardians at the HQ until Clark gets back from. Hold on, Kara stays on Earth at the Guardians. So Kara joins uh, the Guardians HQ. She joins the team against the Lizard League, so they don't get fucking nearly die here. So Rexplode doesn't. I don't. Yeah, Rexplode doesn't die. So that's like the major canon changing event. But even with that, I still think you still keep to the canon universe. Okay. So what is it? Episode 7, Mark showing Kara around the Earth. Okay. Uh, when Anissa and Fiora arrive, Fiora will be the first evil Kryptonian Earth scenes. Anissa beats the brakes. That shit funny, bro. You're not wrong. Mark was getting spanked, man. Kara, not Kara. Kara was able to defeat Fiora and tells Anissa to take her and leave, or she's next. And if Kara fights Anissa's gonna be done. She can't. Okay. Um, What else? Oh, I skipped one. Clark makes things official with Eve in episode 6 while Mark instead realizes that while he loves Amber, he can't be there for her. And he wants what Clark and Eve had, two supers being together. Yeah, um, yeah, we can make a Clark give Eve them Kryptonian back shots, man. All right. So how would I bring them together? Um, I would say that um, I still think about that. I don't know. Maybe they have like a super date or something, stopping crime, and Eve sees Clark in a different light. That sister starving for Clark. Just say that sister starving for Clark. Okay, so okay, episode 8, Storm since Mark 2 is the DC universe where he sees Superman in the mainstream suit. Okay, future Superman and Kara will appear to save Mark from the dimension he was trapped in. Superman is wearing his all black suit, all the black solar suit. You know, that's actually not a bad idea. I might make him main his black suit. Actually, actually, hold on. Wait, we gonna start this right now. Superman, all white suit. Yeah, not gonna lie, that white shit look ugly as fuck. That alternate suit does look kind of fire. Hmm. Ooh, black suit, black suit Superman. Hmm. Hey, Superman with no cape looks menacing as fuck. Not gonna lie. That's like his like recovery suit that keeps the solar energy in. Darkening skies. Ooh, this suit right here. That suit. I think that might be the one. I really think that might be the one. I think that really might be the one suit for real. I think, yeah, I really think that might be the. Oh, that's the Smallville one. It's either this one or we could go with this one. That Superman suit looks fire. But me personally, I like the black one. I like the black one. Or we could go with. I really like the black suit now. Yeah, a black suit with no cape is fire. He look like one of Zod's soldiers. But instead of it being black, we're gonna make it like this, but the cape is white. I don't know. I'm just fucking with it. Or we can make it like a inverted one where it's white and the symbol's black and the cape is black while the thing is white. Or we look at concepts to see what we got working on. Hmm. I really do like the black suit though. Yep, that's the one I'm going for right there. See this? See this lovely art right there? So I have the black, but with the white cape, right? Or have it inverted with the white, but the black cape. Yeah, it's just like that. Just like that. Just like that. It's either between this one or the alternate timeline one. But yeah. Let me save this. And so, yeah, we gotta get some. We gotta get some. I'm finna go crazy with this, bro. What is this? Which Eve is this one? Mm, mm. Mm. Yeah, there's a freaking Invincible game. Adam eats. That's funny. Mm. Adam, Eve, and explode. No, we're not doing that. Mm. Mm. Trying to just sort through these. Okay, let's do it like this. Let's do it like this, man. We need some good shit right here. I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out eventually. But yeah, this concept right here, definitely doing it. Think about how Superman would have fit the story. Is this the only universe where he made it to Earth, or did Marvel and Mark team up to kill him before he's strong enough to do other universes? Um, there are universes where Clark was never there, or they did end up being by love. And there's even some where Superman joined them. Universe where Superman defeated both Omni-Man and Mark and took over. And, yeah, I am cooking up something devious for the Invincible War, bro. Like, be real. I am cooking up something devious. Cooking up something real devious. Mm-hmm. Hmm. I gotta see what this is real quick.
Y'all cooking me for being right. Death Battle was wrong and biased as usual. Homelander should destroy Omni-Man, and it's not even close. Omni-Man was too slow to stop Donald, a normal human being, from pressing a button. Homelander could fly so fast that he broke the sound barrier as a child. Homelander as a child was faster than Nolan. Homelander also survived this explosion, while Omni-Man took serious damage from the Guardians, who struggled against two guys who had trouble breaking down walls. Omni-Man could even be harmed by bullets, while Homelander is bulletproof. So that's why Homelander absolutely shits on Omni-Man. I don't know what you guys even think with this one. Nolan can't even destroy a mountain with multiple punches, and you really think he can take Homelander? Get real, this is even only using the TV shows. In the comics, Homelander scales above the guy who destroyed this meteorite, way stronger than anything in Invincible. I don't even know what you're cooking. Y'all cooking me for being right. Death Battle was wrong.
Um, to the game that we never got, man. I'm not using the ad blocker, YouTube, I promise. Psych. You don't understand how excited I was for this game, man. This shit was fire as fuck when I first saw this trailer, bro.
Peggy 16. Peggy 16.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
To crown the King of Light is the calling of a crystal. Only the true king, anointed by the crystal, can purge our star of its scourge.
Damn. They trying to blow that nigga up. Hmm.
How many must die before you are satisfied?
I have seen many deaths, but now I'm only looking forward to one. And then I can rest.
He will take responsibility, you know.
As must we all.
May the gods forgive me.
Hmm. You don't understand how bad I want to play a fantasy game, bro. This shit would have been so fucking amazing. We never got this, bro. They cut so much shit out, bro. So much missed opportunity. Mm-mm.
from a life is yours, Ares. We will destroy the petty gods, and we will
Is that
of my
Resting on your cruelty and rage, you will never change.
my vengeance ends now.
Kratos.
You are cruel and arrogant and selfish.
I know who you are. I know what you've done.
But you are more than that. Who I
Dang, I ain't know God of War was 20 years old. Shit. Shit. Damn. That quick? Game hasn't even been out for like a week and they already got armors and shit for it.
You get on a plane with all your friends,
Hey,
but suddenly have a
Final
vision that
Destination
it'll crash.
scared me
Of
as a
course, you get
kid
off
for
the
real
plane, you
though.
cheat death, only to find out the Reaper doesn't like to be shortchanged, so he comes back to claim the lives he's owed. One by one, your friends die in freak accidents. That's what happened to Alex Browning in Final Destination, but the story didn't end with him. There were 4 more of these movies, and after a 14-year hiatus, another on the way. So let's look back and see if we can't unravel Death's design. Join me, if you dare, as I examine the Final Destination timeline and try to make sense of all the rules. The Reaper's rules. Yeah, I just came up with that. Spoilers ahead, let's go. These movies were mostly released in chronological order, with one notable exception. There's a twist at the end of Final Destination 5, revealing it's actually a prequel that leads into the plane crash from the original Final Destination. So we'll twist this line and try to make sense of all the rules. The Reaper's rules. Yeah, I just came up with that. Spoilers ahead, let's go. These movies were mostly released in chronological order, with one notable exception. There's a twist at the end of Final Destination 5, revealing it's actually a prequel that leads into the plane crash from the original Final Destination.
So to go through these movies in chronological order, we have to start with 5, released in 2011 but takes place in 1999, or 2000. It's confusing because of some internal contradictions in the franchise, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's just call it 1999 and go with it. Each of these movies features a character who has a premonition of imminent disaster, allowing them to save themselves and a few friends. This movie's visionary is Sam Lawton. Sam is an employee at Presage Paper, working for a boss played by David Koechner, who has experience playing a paper company employee. So it's fun to imagine this movie as a sequel to The Office, revealing the true fate of Todd Packer. Today, the company is heading on a corporate retreat, but to get there, they'll have to cross a bridge. And when you're in a Final Destination movie, that's a big no-no. It goes about as well as you'd expect. They all die in ways that allow them or objects to be flung at the camera, because 3D was big at the time. While Sam himself dies in the premonition, he does manage to save his girlfriend Molly, or at least she was his girlfriend until about an hour ago when she broke up with him. Don't worry, they're still in love. She did it for selfless reasons, to be revealed later. More important is that after Sam dies, he wakes up back on the bus. It wasn't real, just a vision, and Sam only has minutes to escape. He gets off the bridge along with a few more who follow him. You might be wondering, by the way, why do certain people get these visions? The movies never really delve into that, but there is one man who can shed some light. Fox Mulder. What? Yes, if you haven't heard this piece of trivia, Final Destination was originally written as an episode of X-Files by Jeffrey Reddick. It wasn't officially commissioned by the show. He wrote it as a spec script, meaning it was written as a way to showcase his talent in the hopes of getting a job. But he was instead convinced by some friends in the biz that it could work as a movie. In the time since, Reddick shared that script with Bloody Disgusting, and we can read it today. In this original script, Dana Scully's brother Charles is the one with the vision, and when Mulder meets him, he explains it like this. A lot of people have had a feeling or a sense of foreboding about something, whether it's taking a flight or walking down a dark street. And while these feelings are part of the extrasensory phenomena, having an actual vision indicates a heightened level of psychic ability. It's a unique gift. And where does this gift come from? Mulder later adds, there are researchers who believe psychic ability is a genetic anomaly that manifests itself mentally. So it's a genetic anomaly, a mutation, kind of like the X-Men, or at least that's how Reddick envisioned it back in '94 when he first wrote the script. At the funeral for those who didn't get off the bridge, an important character makes his first chronological appearance. At this point in the timeline, he's a coroner, though later on he'll become a funeral director. William Bloodworth, played by the late, great Tony Todd. His first line, death doesn't like to be cheated. An unsolicited piece of advice he offers Sam and his friend Peter. Throughout the franchise, Bloodworth offers vague guidance to the characters. It's clear he knows something about how death and its designs work. But how does he know all this? The only real clue we get is in Final Destination 5, because Bloodworth says, I've seen this before. A lucky few survive a disaster, and then one by one, death comes for them all. That would imply that, working as a coroner, he's just been a keen observer and pieced together how things work over the years. Anyway, enough rattling on. This is Final Destination. You're here for some good old-fashioned death by freak accident. And we can call that rule number 1, the most basic rule. If you cheat death, it will come back for you. First up is the gymnast, Peter's girlfriend, Candace. At practice, a loose screw lands on the balance beam, and a cord connected to a fan falls into a puddle of water. As luck would have it, she avoids both. But death always has a plan. Another girl lands on that screw, causing her to knock over the chalk, which gets blown by the fan into the path of Candace's dismount, causing an uncomfortable and lethal landing. Next on Death's list is Isaac, Presage Paper tech support and resident jerk. He helps himself to whatever he finds in his deceased co-workers' desks, including a coupon to a local massage parlor. He walks in expecting a happy ending, and, well, unless he had a death wish, the ending is anything but happy. They fill him with acupuncture needles and leave the room. Just before some burning incense falls onto a towel, Isaac panics, the table breaks, and he falls face first onto the ground, pushing all those needles in deep while knocking over a jug of alcohol. And finally, his vibrating phone knocks over a candle into the resulting puddle, and the explosion launches him across the room. Yet, he's still alive for about 10 seconds. All the commotion breaks a shelf that holds a hefty Buddha statue, which falls and crushes his skull. Maybe he should have been nicer to it.
Yo, Buddha, slow down on the rice cakes.
So far, each of these deaths have had subtle signs beforehand portending doom. When Isaac went through his coworker's drawers, he pricked his finger. A sign because the same thing happened to Sam on the bus before the bridge collapsed. And in the massage room, a gust of wind flickered the candle. In Candace's case, right before her final routine, she twirled her good luck rubber band around her wrist like always, but this time it snapped and a dark shadow passed over her.
Honestly,
So
I'm
select
just
few
watching
like
shit.
Sam Lawton
We
received
just
full-on
chilling, man.
visions. But in addition to that, there are signs that anyone can spot if they pay close attention. At the scene of Isaac's death, the survivors spot Bloodworth, and this time they demand answers. Is there any way to escape death once you've cheated its design? The answer is yes. Let death have someone else in your place. Then you take their spot in the realm of the living.
All the days and years that they've yet to live, and they take your place in death, and the books are balanced.
And there's rule number 2. If you cheat death and the Reaper is after you, you can buy additional time by killing someone else. That'll take whatever time they had left on this mortal coil and add it to yours. Nathan doesn't believe it. The grieving Peter takes it to heart. And Olivia, well, she couldn't join them for this chat with Death's custodian because she's currently at an appointment for some laser eye surgery. For those of you who don't do well with eye trauma, this is the movie you want to skip. Now, if Olivia had been looking for signs, she might have skipped this appointment, because earlier at the office, in her rush to leave, she knocked over a picture of herself, breaking the frame's glass right over her eye. That photo, by the way, was taken with her friend at the Devil's Flight, the roller coaster which will claim many lives in Final Destination 3. Those sorts of Easter eggs are present throughout the series, especially the number 180, in reference to the doomed Flight 180 from the original movie. This movie has already had a few 180s. The name of the company that was going to take them on the corporate retreat, 180 Corporate Consulting. The restaurant Sam works at, Le Cafe Miro 81. Anyway, we've been putting it off long enough. Sorry, Olivia, it's time. The eye doctor locks her in place under the laser, which doesn't help with the nerves. That's where the teddy bear comes in. She squeezes it tight. So tight, she pops out one of its eyes. She's afraid, and it doesn't help that the doctor leaves the room when he notices he's been given an incomplete file. Just outside the room, a cup left on the water cooler topples, spilling its contents onto the wall socket, which happens to share a circuit with the laser eye machine. It malfunctions, turning the intensity up way too high. Olivia reaches for the emergency stop, but only manages to knock the remote onto the ground, landing it right on the big red button. The laser fires. Her right eye is burned. Her hand, too, when she raises it to try and stop the laser. Finally, she escapes the machine just as Sam and Molly arrive to check on her. She screams for help and slips on the teddy bear's eye, flinging her out the window. And we aren't done yet. She may be dead from the landing, but only one of her eyes has been destroyed. Well, don't worry, we've got you covered, because the impact of her body causes her one good eye to pop out of its socket and then pop under the wheel of oncoming traffic. The next morning, Sam discovers the first addendum to rule number 1. He spent all night thinking about the bridge and how he saw everyone die. He realizes now that they're all dying in the order they would have died. So, who's next? That would be Nathan. Right now, he's at the paper factory where he's a supervisor, where the tension between him and a worker he doesn't get along with, Roy, boils over. Wait a minute, Roy, like in The Office, who also worked in the warehouse at the paper company and didn't get along with the stiffs upstairs? That on top of David Koechner, not to mention Sam is played by the same actor who played Jan's assistant Hunter in The Office. What the hell is going on here? You know, if Final Destination has taught me anything, it's that there are no coincidences. All of this must be a sign of danger. Speaking of which, while Nathan and Roy argue, he notices a large metal hook about to fall. They have to move out of the way, but Roy won't let go of him. So Nathan gives him a little push, inadvertently putting Roy in danger in Nathan's place. The hook breaks the platform out from under him, and Roy falls until the pointy end catches him by impaling his skull. Sam, Peter, and Molly arrive after that, and Peter only has one question for Nathan. Did you kill him? It might have been an accident, but it's true. Nathan handed Roy over to the Reaper, and now he reaps the reward, Roy's remaining years. With Nathan off death's list, who's next? Speak of the devil, it's Todd Packer, and he's just arrived, just in time for a stray wrench left by a belt sander to fall and launch into his brain. That night, Sam has a thought. Something saved him on the bridge that day. Maybe it didn't want him to die. Maybe he's safe. Suddenly, things are looking up. It isn't just that he might live, but on top of that, Molly is no longer his ex. It turns out the only reason she ended things is because she feared that she was holding him back. The restaurant offered Sam an apprenticeship in Paris, which would be his dream, but he was hesitant to go because he didn't want to leave her behind. Now he's invited her to come with him, and she said yes. After his shift that night, she comes to the restaurant for a late-night dinner, but they receive a surprise guest, Peter. He's supposed to be next, then Sam. Thing is, Peter doesn't want to die, and it's not really fair that Candace had to die while Molly gets to live. So he's gonna kill her and take her remaining years. Sam tries to protect her, putting himself between her and Peter. The gunshots draw the attention of FBI agent Block. He shows up to save the day until Peter shoots him in the back, taking his remaining life. Now, Peter is off death's list. No more need to kill, except Molly just witnessed him murder a federal agent. So he turns the gun on her too, until Sam stabs him through the back with a skewer and finally kills him. Now Sam and Molly feel a shadowy presence leave them. It would seem that Sam is saved. Sure, killing Peter normally wouldn't have saved him because Peter was already on death's list. But once Peter killed Block, Peter stole Block's remaining life, and now Sam has stolen Block's life from Peter. After that, 2 weeks go by without incident. And this is where Final Destination 5 meets Final Destination. So let's turn to the original Final Destination. Today is an exciting day for the graduating class of Mount Abraham High, because today they're boarding Volé Airlines Flight 180 to Paris for their senior trip. But one particular student, Alex Browning, is a little less excited. In fact, he's a bit nervous because he has a bad feeling about this flight. The strange coincidences aren't helping, like the departure time that matches his birthday, or the music playing over the intercom, John Denver, who died in a plane crash. Nevertheless, he boards the flight. Krista asks him to change seats with Blake so she can sit next to her friend, and he obliges. Then another sign, broken tray table. They take off and the turbulence is bad. Bad enough, people are starting to worry. But they don't have to worry long because those who aren't flung out of the craft are incinerated when it explodes. Alex wakes in a cold sweat. He's back in his seat. Krista asks him to change seats. The same tray table is broken. It's just like the nightmare. No, the premonition. He shouts and warns the rest, as he and a few others are removed from the plane. Back to Final Destination 5. What is all that commotion? Sam and Molly wonder. That's right. They are also on Volé Airlines Flight 180. We should have seen it coming. After all, they told us Sam's apprenticeship was in Paris, where Flight 180 is heading. Alex and the others are removed from the flight. The plane falls apart mid-air. Molly is flung out and broken in half on the wing, while Sam is incinerated in the subsequent explosion. How about Nathan, the one who stole Roy's remaining life? Right now, he's at a memorial for Roy, and it turns out Roy didn't have much life left. The autopsy revealed an enlarged blood vessel in his brain so big it was about to burst. He would have been dead any day now. As though on cue, Flight 180's landing gear crashes through the ceiling and crushes Nathan to death. Rule number 2, you can steal life by killing. Does it really work? It did for Nathan, it just turned out to only be about 2 weeks worth of life. How about Sam? We assumed that he stole Agent Block's remaining life from Peter. It's possible that Block, like Roy, also only had a couple of weeks to live. But that seems unlikely. I think more likely it's this. You don't get an extra life by killing someone that's already on death's list, even if they have already killed someone themselves. So extra time doesn't transfer. If Sam had killed Block himself, that would have worked. But Peter kills Block and then Sam kills Peter doesn't work that way. Sam never escaped death's list, and now on Flight 180, it comes back for him. Does that mean Molly and everyone else on the plane died because of Sam? As in, Death took the plane down specifically to kill Sam, and everyone else is a bonus? I don't think so. If Death has a design, that would imply that everyone on the flight was destined to die that day, meaning the plane was crashing whether or not Sam was on it. If he wasn't on the plane, it still would have crashed, and Death would have found some other way to kill him too. It's all open to debate, and from what I can tell, fans haven't come to a consensus and all have their own opinions. Also up for debate is when the Flight 180 incident actually occurred. Final Destination said it was 1999, but at the end of Final Destination 5, during the big reveal, Sam looks down at his ticket and it shows 2000. If you ask me, the reasoning is this. The filmmakers wanted a simple way to communicate, twist! This movie takes place right before Final Destination 1, and they weren't thinking, when did Final Destination take place chronologically? They were thinking, when did it release? And therefore, what year would people most closely associate with it? The year it came out, 2000. Hey, this was pre-one take, so no one was tracking these timelines all that closely yet. It's fun to look back at the movie in retrospect. Not only is it a massive clue that Sam's apprenticeship is in Paris, but all the music, references, and technology in the movie are clearly over a decade old. The first iPhone released 4 years before the movie came out, yet characters are using flip phones. All that aside, Alex and his friends are now in big trouble. They cheated Death by getting off Flight 180. It'll come for them soon, though it seems Death is on its own schedule because this time it waits 39 days before striking. And that's when Alex gets his first sign. He's startled by an owl at his window and throws a magazine. It lands in his fan, tearing it to shreds, landing one scrap on his knee. The word "today" has been torn in half, leaving only 3 letters behind, the name of his friend, Todd. He heads for Todd's house, but by the time he arrives, the coroner van is already there. They're saying Todd did it on purpose, but the truth is that it was a freak accident. The toilet leaked. Todd slipped and ended up in the tub with a retractable clothesline around his throat. And here we see something that doesn't happen again in any of the other movies. Death actually covers its tracks. After Todd dies, an unseen force pulls the puddle of water back into the toilet to hide the fact that he slipped and make it look self-inflicted. There's something else we see a few times in this movie which doesn't happen in the others. Death actually appears in reflections as a shadowy presence. We see it in the mirror before Todd's death and a couple more times in the movie. In his investigation, Alex finds out why Clear Rivers got off the plane with him. She didn't have a vision like him, but she did get a feeling. It's like Fox Mulder said. Some psychics are stronger than others. Alex gets visions, while Clear gets feelings. They break into the funeral home to see what they can find out about Todd's death, and there they meet Bloodworth. All he reveals in this movie is what we already know. In Death, there are no accidents, and there are no escapes. Every move we make is part of Death's sadistic design leading to the grave. If you cheat Death, it will make a new design for you. It'll come back at you all over again. The next to die is Terry, who gets hit by a bus. Something Alex should have seen coming because he spotted a reflection of that bus in the window before the bus actually arrived. But he hasn't realized the importance of looking for signs just yet. That night, when the news reports on the cause of the Flight 180 crash, he compares the path of the explosion to their seat map and realizes they're dying in the order they would have died. That means their teacher, Miss Luton, would be next. Alex tries getting to her, but the FBI, suspicious of his behavior, gets in the way. Instead, she swaps the hot tea in her mug for ice-cold vodka. The sudden change in temperature leads to a crack, dripping vodka on the floor and her monitor. The alcohol and circuitry make for a dangerous mix, and the resulting explosion cuts her throat with a shard of glass. The fire follows the line of vodka on the floor back to the bottle next to the stove. That explosion knocks her to the floor. She reaches up to grab a hand towel, forgetting she draped it over her knives. By pulling on that towel, she pulls on the knives, and one of them plunges into her chest. When Alex finally arrives, another explosion knocks over a chair, which hammers the knife in further. If there's any life left in her, it is extinguished after Alex runs outside and the house blows up behind it. The following night, Alex discovers a new rule. He convenes with the other survivors and tells them what he's learned, how they're all dying in order. The weight of their inevitable doom drives Carter into a rage. He drives like a madman. Alex spots a ghostly reflection of a train and notices his seatbelt is ripped, signs for what is about to occur. Carter parks on the train tracks, but as the train approaches, he decides he doesn't have a death wish after all. But the car won't start, the door is stuck, and so is his seatbelt. At the last moment, Alex pulls him out through the window, tearing his seatbelt in the process. He saw the signs, the train, the torn seatbelt, and he intervened. Carter should have been next, but he's still alive. That is when they learn rule number 3. When someone intervenes, death skips them and moves on to the next soul on his list. In this case, Billy. The train crashes into the car, catches a piece of debris in the wheels, and sends it flying through Billy's head. Next up is Alex. He holes up in a cabin and death-proofs the place, until he realizes the seat map is wrong. In his premonition, he traded seats with someone, meaning Clear Rivers would have died first, not him, which is doubly concerning since that happens to be the girl he's falling in love with. By the time Alex gets to her house, it's already turned into a death trap. Lightning knocked over a power line. Inside, the electronics are sparking, and outside, there are live wires thrashing. She manages to reach her car, but it gets stuck. And in Alex's attempt to knock the live wire off the hood, he accidentally ignites the spilled turpentine. Alex buys her the seconds she needs to escape before the car explodes by grabbing the wire with his bare hands. It nearly kills him, but he does survive. Alex saved Carter, then he saved Clear, and now it seems he survived his own near death. Or did he? 6 months later, the 3 survivors, Alex, Clear, and Carter, finally take their trip to Paris. And it turns out, death never took its swing at Alex. That electrocution was Alex's own doing. Surviving it meant nothing. It turns out that today is his turn. But Clear intervenes. She notices the reflection of a bus that isn't there and calls out his name. So Alex stops himself before accidentally stepping into the path of a real bus. And now, the caveat to rule number 3. If death skips everyone on the list, it just starts back at the beginning with whoever is still alive. Carter was before Clear and Alex, so death now takes another swing at him. The swerving bus hits a street sign, which knocks over a bigger sign. Carter tackles Alex out of its way, then stands back up, putting himself in the way of that sign when it swings back the other way. That's where Final Destination ends. With Carter dead, Clear is up again, then Alex, then Clear, then Alex, and so on. Over the next few months, they both cheat death dozens of times, until Alex is killed by a falling brick. After that, Clear checks herself into an institution, surrounded by padded walls where the limits of death's creativity are tested. Here, there's nothing to spill, nothing sharp, no live wires, nothing that can kill her. We know all this thanks to Final Destination 2, where Clear has already been at the institution for a few months. A newspaper article reveals Alex's fate, and Clear mentions them cheating death dozens of times before that occurred. The movie also introduces another addendum to rule number 1. Not only will death return for those who cheat death, but it will also account for any ripple effect. Meaning, when Alex and his friends walked off Flight 180, not only did they deviate from death's design, but they also indirectly prevented other deaths that were supposed to occur, like Rory Peters. He was supposed to die in a theater collapse in Paris, but he ended up not going to the theater after witnessing a guy killed by a falling sign, Carter. If Carter died on Flight 180, he wouldn't have been killed by a falling sign, and Rory would have gone to the theater where he was supposed to die. There's also Eugene Dix. He was supposed to be killed by a student who brought a knife to his class, but instead he was transferred to another school when Miss Luton died in her home. Kimberly Corman should have been killed with her mom in a carjacking, but she got held up watching a news report on Todd's death. And there are others who were spared thanks to the Flight 180 survivors' inadvertent interference. 1 year to the day after Flight 180, Death attempts to tie up these loose ends by killing them all in a pileup on Route 23. But Death finds another psychic in its midst with Kimberly Corman. Just like Sam and Alex before her, she experiences the incident in excruciating lifelike detail through premonition. So she uses her SUV to block the entrance ramp and save as many lives as she can, including Officer Burke. Now, when Death is dealing with loose ends, it apparently approaches things a little differently. Instead of killing people in the order they would have died, it goes in reverse order. It works backwards to seal the rift. Kimberly and her friends in the SUV died last in her premonition, so Death starts with them. It sends the truck hurtling toward the SUV, but Officer Burke intervenes. He gets Kimberly out of the way and she is saved, though her friends die. So Death skips Kimberly for now and continues working backwards. In the premonition, recent lottery winner Evan Lewis died just before Kimberly and her friends, meaning he's next. And he gets one of the best death scenes, where it really feels like a character wrestling with the Grim Reaper. There's a give and take where you aren't sure who's going to come out on top. On his way up to his apartment, carrying a bunch of packages, he almost trips on a bunch of toys in the hallway, but that doesn't get him. Inside his apartment, he finds old spaghetti in his pan, so he tosses the food scraps out his window. Things start to go haywire when he doesn't notice a magnet fall off his fridge into the leftovers he's about to put in the microwave. The resulting sparks startle him and he drops a new ring down the drain. He reaches his hand in and gets himself stuck thanks to a new watch. More sparks, his pan catches fire, he tries to put it out, knocks it over, and now his apartment is on fire. He gets his hand out and with the door blocked by fire, runs for the windows, which spontaneously close. He breaks one open, climbs down the fire escape, just as his place explodes behind him. He's free, only the ladder gets stuck. He gives it a few yanks and reaches the ground when he slips on that old spaghetti and lands on the broken glass from his window. Painful, but not lethal. The ladder falls, but stops short of hitting him. Wow, that was a close one. And the ladder falls again, this time into his brain. That confirms Kimberly's suspicion. By this point, the story of Flight 180 and subsequent freak accidents are public knowledge. So she seeks out the sole survivor and finds Clear at that institution. Clear is unsurprisingly cynical and unwilling to lend much help, other than offering the advice that deaths are often foretold by signs. Next on Death's list is Tim Carpenter, and the signs tell Kimberly it'll involve pigeons. She gets to the scene just in time to warn him, but her shouts only draw his attention to said pigeons. He chases them off, putting him in position to be crushed to death by a falling pane of glass. After that, Clear decides she's going to join the fight and takes Kimberly to someone who can shed some light, Bloodworth. They beg his help, and he reluctantly offers advice that will become for us rule number 4. Only new life can defeat death. For every life, there's a death, and for every death, there is a life. But the introduction of life that was not meant to be, that can invalidate the list, force death to start anew. It's a riddle the characters initially misinterpret. One of the survivors of the pileup, Isabella, was pregnant. Perhaps they need to ensure the successful birth of her child, life that was not meant to be. Before that happens, Tim's mother Nora is decapitated by an elevator, and it all becomes too much for Eugene. He decides to go out on his own terms. He puts a revolver to his head and pulls the trigger, but the gun doesn't fire. He pulls it 5 more times, but, and this is rule number 5, you don't get to die until death decides it's your time. Until then, if you try to take your own life, death will intervene to stop it. In the meantime, it continues working its way through the list. Kat is nearly impaled by a pipe in a car accident, and then is impaled when firemen accidentally set off the airbag. The now dead Kat drops a cigarette which ignites some spilled gasoline, which launches barbed wire at Rory, cutting him to pieces. And Eugene gets his lung punctured, sending him to the same hospital where Isabella successfully delivers her baby. They're saved! Except, minor issue, Isabella was never supposed to die. Kimberly gets another vision of the original pileup from her premonition and sees that Isabella was supposed to survive, meaning her baby's life was always meant to be. Seconds later, her doubts are proven when Eugene explodes, killing him and Clear. But Kimberly's been having another vision of someone drowning in a van. She assumed it was Isabella's imminent death and something they had to prevent. But now she realizes it's Kimberly herself drowning. And she realizes the answer to Bloodworth's riddle. New life can defeat death. She has to die, as predicted by her vision, and get resuscitated back to life. So she drives into the lake and nearly drowns, until Burke rescues her for the second time, and they successfully restart her heart. Finally, death is defeated. But while death might have lost the battle, the war rages on, and death continues tying up loose ends, like Brian Gibbon. Before Rory died, he pushed Brian out of the way of a van that would have killed him. Well, Rory was supposed to be dead already, so anyone he saves, that's another cheat that has to be corrected. So Brian explodes in due time, when something goes wrong with a grill at a barbecue. How about Kimberly and Burke? Are they truly free of death's grasp? Well, it depends on who you ask. If you watch the next 2 Final Destination movies in theaters, you wouldn't have heard another mention of either character, and you were free to live in your sheltered little world of sunshine and rainbows, going on believing anyone could truly defeat death. But if you bought the Thrill Ride edition of Final Destination 3 on DVD, you might have watched the Choose Their Fate version, which essentially turns the movie into a choose-your-own-adventure. At one point, you get the option to read a newspaper, which reveals that Kimberly and Burke, 5 years after cheating death, both died in a wood chipper. So rule number 4, new life can defeat death. Minor caveat, no it doesn't. Or maybe these characters never truly solved that riddle, and we still don't know what exactly it means to create new life that wasn't meant to be. So, Final Destination 3 takes place 5 years after the Route 23 pileup. This movie's visionary is Wendy Christensen, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who gives one of the stronger performances in the franchise, and the disaster is a roller coaster derailment, the Devil's Flight. Some cry plot hole because in her premonition, a character named Frankie drops a camera onto the track, and that seems to play a role in causing the disaster. And then Frankie is one of the people who gets off the coaster after her freakout. So how does the crash still occur even though he doesn't drop the camera? Well, if you pay close attention, the hydraulics first show issues when the attendant pushes Lewis's restraints down. That occurs before the premonition and before the camera is dropped. So even though they get off the coaster, the hydraulics are still damaged, and the disaster still occurs. Just like in Final Destination 2, Flight 180 is common knowledge to anyone with an internet connection, so the characters do not have to discover that death will come back for them. It's simply a question of how long it takes for them to believe it. Kevin buys into it right away. Wendy had a premonition that came true. It matches Alex Browning's story exactly. Wendy is skeptical until a freak accident claims the first 2 who died in a premonition. Ashley and Ashlyn, who now die by incineration in malfunctioning tanning beds. Right before their deaths occur, Wendy saw something ominous and tried to reach out to them. This movie introduces a new sort of sign. Rather than ghostly reflections or torn papers, this movie puts its clues into photos. The night of the coaster crash, Wendy took photos of everyone. Right before the two girls died, she noticed their photo was overexposed, making it look like someone turned the temperature up way too high. After their funeral, Wendy confesses to Kevin that she is now a believer, and even shows him evidence that photos can predict a person's manner of death. Just look at the last photograph Lincoln ever posed for. The photographic plate was broken, causing a line exactly where he was shot. Or look at the ghostly shadow of a plane on the Twin Towers. Or the photo of the Route 23 pileup which occurred 1 year to the day after Flight 180. Smoke obscured a road sign, but left visible the number 180. According to the order in her premonition, Frankie is next. So they check his photo. He's on a rope ladder. The meaning isn't obvious, and they have little time to ponder it because an out-of-control truck is heading right for them. They manage to escape, but the person in front of them at the drive-thru isn't so lucky. When the truck crushes their car, it launches the engine at his head, and the fan chops it to pieces. Turns out the driver was Frankie, and they were looking at the wrong photo. Yes, Wendy did take a photo of Frankie on a rope ladder, but she also took one of him with his head next to a fan. That was the clue. Next up is Lewis. She took his photo at the strength tester, where you swing the hammer and see how high you can send the weight. In this picture, it looks like that weight will come down on his head. As expected, they find him at the weight room, and despite their attempt to intervene, his head does end up crushed between a couple of weights. Next is Ian, followed by his girlfriend Erin. They find the two of them at the hardware store where they work, and both are skeptical. Regardless, death comes for them. They manage to save Ian, but Erin ends up with a face full of nails. Who's next? Wendy can't tell because someone waved their arm in front of the camera when she snapped a photo of the coaster, but taking a closer look, she notices her sister Julie's charm bracelet. Apparently she was on the ride that night, and she is next on Death's list, along with whoever was sitting next to her. As their time draws near, Wendy finally checks out her and Kevin's own photos. They were sitting next to each other and will be the last to go. In her picture, Wendy is wearing a McKinley t-shirt, the name of their school, but also Ian's last name. He isn't happy about his girlfriend's death and holds a grudge against Wendy. Everything was fine until she came to his and Aaron's place of work, screaming about photos and Death's design. That's when he almost died and Aaron did. If Ian McKinley blames Wendy, perhaps he'll come for revenge. As for Kevin's photo, the flash makes it look like an explosion goes off in his face. With Kevin working security at the 300th anniversary McKinley Tricentennial Fair, the implication is obvious. He's going to die by firework. But first is Wendy's sister Julie. At the festival, a startled horse gets loose and yanks a T-post out of the ground. It drags it by a rope which gets wrapped around Julie's throat. The horse pulls her towards some spikes that will be her end, until Kevin cuts the rope just in time. As always, intervening means skipping to the next in line, the one who sat next to Julie on the Devil's Flight, her best friend Perry. As they try to calm the horse, it's once again startled by the fireworks, and this time yanks out a flagpole which impales her. With Julie skipped and Perry dead, Kevin is next. That horse kicks him onto the food table, launching a skewer into the propane line. It explodes in his face, mimicking that photo, except Julie pulls him back just in time. Now, he's been skipped too. That leaves only Wendy, and just as she suspected, Ian McKinley arrives, prepared to kill. Suddenly, Wendy senses Death's approach, and a bunch of fireworks go off at the wrong time. Kevin, Julie, and Wendy get on the ground to dodge them, while Ian stands in their path. Though all the fireworks miss. Is he protected since Death already skipped him? They get their answer seconds later when they realize what those fireworks hit when they missed him. A large cherry picker which now falls and crushes him to death. Now they must be free, right? Well, the characters aren't as familiar with the rules as we are. The first movie taught us rule number 3. If you intervene, death will skip. But the caveat, it always starts back at the top until everyone is dead. 5 months later, Wendy gets on a subway. She starts to pick up on some signs, an ominous feeling, a familiar song. Then, by some incredible coincidence, her sister Julie gets on the same train. And then, wouldn't you believe it, Kevin is on the same train too. It's about 15 seconds later when that train derails and they all die. But it turns out this was just another premonition, another warning of impending death. Only this one is on very short notice. Wendy wakes up at the moment she ran into Kevin, meaning she has only seconds to intervene. They grab the emergency brake, the screen cuts to black over the sounds of screeching metal and crashing. By the way, according to producer Craig Perry, Kimberly and Burke from Final Destination 2 were also supposed to be on the train, implying death was including them in this big cleanup act too, to try and wipe them all out in one go. But it didn't work out due to some scheduling conflicts. Just further evidence that those two characters, whether it was by wood chipper or something else, are most likely definitely dead. But back to Wendy, Kevin, and Julie on that subway. Did they live or die? You already know the answer. There are no happy endings in this franchise. Now, if you want, you can choose to believe they're alive. In fact, the next movie doesn't mention them at all. No newspaper clipping about wood chippers or falling bricks. But in a Q&A with Perry on BloodyDisgusting.com, he was asked his opinion, and he replied, "In my mind, they are dead. And not just dead, but pulverized." By the way, this was also the first Final Destination movie where Tony Todd didn't appear, but he did lend his voice. He's the subway announcer at the end and voices the animatronic devil of The Devil's Flight, beckoning parkgoers to ride if they dare. 4 years later, another receives a vision of death. This time, the lucky one is Nick O'Bannon in The Manner of Death, a race car crash at McKinley Speedway. The same name as Wendy's school, and if that wasn't bad enough, Nick and his friends also sit in section 180 of the stadium. Nick, by the way, was likely originally named Tom, because if you look at the screenplay, it seems obvious that someone did a find and replace to replace Tom with Nick, but they didn't account for the fact that a lot of words include the letters T-O-M. For example, here it should say bottom, but instead it says Botnik. Or here, where it should say Grey's Anatomy, it instead says Grey's Anatomy. Like the others before, Nick suffers a premonition, wakes up, and leaves with whoever will follow him before disaster strikes. But unlike the others, Nick continues to receive premonitions after that. Alex in Final Destination had to look for subtle clues, like the reflection of a bus that isn't there. Nick, on the other hand, receives visions filled with a mishmash of images that provide clues on how the next person will die. The first one to go is the racist Carter Daniels. Nick has a hectic dream of a red door, wooden cross, chain, and some flames. That very night, Carter heads to stadium security guard George Lanter's house with a wooden cross. He intends to light it on fire in his yard, because Carter's girlfriend died in the disaster, and he blames the guard for preventing him from trying to rescue her. But Carter was the first to die in Nick's premonition, so tonight it's his turn to go. Through a series of mishaps, he ends up on fire, dragged by a chain from the back of his own truck before it explodes. Rather than a burning cross on George's lawn, Carter's own burning head lands there instead. When Nick hears about his death on the news, he recognizes elements from his dream, like the red door and how Carter died. Now he knows the game, but not well enough to intervene in the next death. Samantha Lane's sons throw some rocks at a man in his lawnmower. He runs over one of those rocks, sending it flying through Samantha's eye like a bullet. That's when Nick and his girlfriend, fellow survivor Lori, turn to the internet. They read about Flight 180, about premonitions followed by deaths in the order they would have occurred. Only Nick can't remember who died when at the racetrack. So he and Lori return to the scene to try and piece it together. Only he still can't remember. Thankfully, they have help. The security guard, George, plays the security footage for them so Nick can piece it together. The mechanic Andy is next, followed by Hunt and Janet, then George, then Laurie, and finally, of course, Nick would be last. But, Nick wonders, maybe if they can stop the mechanic from getting killed, it'll break the chain and they'll all be saved. Of course, we know that isn't true, and it's moot because despite their best efforts, an acetylene tank launches Andy into a fence, which cuts him to pieces. Like ground beef through a Play-Doh fun factory, to quote the screenplay. So on to Hunt and Janet. Janet is nearly drowned or possibly decapitated by a malfunctioning car wash, but they manage to intervene in the nick of time. Hunt, on the other hand, has his insides sucked out through his rear end after getting caught by a pool drain turned on by a falling super soaker he carelessly tossed into the maintenance enclosure. Ouch. Anyway, they saved Janet. We know that only means skipping her and going to whoever is next, but Nick theorizes that they've broken the chain. Maybe they're all saved. And later, some wind knocks over a mug. The spill darkens a newspaper except for a few words, as though highlighting them. When put together, those words read, "Through action, they were saved." They take this to be a sign that it worked. They are truly saved. The original screenplay, by the way, expands on this moment. Laurie asks, "What does it mean? What is death telling us?" And Nick replies, "I don't think it's death. Maybe it's something else trying to warn us." Those lines didn't make the movie, but I find them interesting because you can explain the visions and ominous feelings with the psychic stuff cut from the original script. But that still leaves open the question of signs in the physical world. I don't think Alex, being a psychic, explains why a magazine got torn up and left the word Todd on his knee, or why Olivia's picture broke over her eye. So what explains that stuff? These cut lines from the screenplay would indicate that at least the writer on The Final Destination, Eric Bress, considered that there might be a force that counteracts death, something that tries to signal us to help us escape death's design. If death is a real cosmic force that interacts with reality, it's not a stretch to imagine that there are other forces which might act against it. Either way, Nick and Laurie rush over to George's house to share the good news, and they find him with a noose around his neck. Only the noose breaks and he falls safely to the ground. Apparently, he's been trying to take his own life all day. After losing his wife and daughter in a car crash years ago, he's harbored that survivor's guilt. And now, finding himself on death's list, he thought he'd give God what he wants. But all day, no matter how hard he's tried, nothing works. He took a bottle of painkillers and just threw them up. He went to the garage, hooked a hose from the tailpipe, stuck it inside the car kept stalling, and now this. So, Laurie suggests, saving Janet must have broken the chain. They really are saved. That must be why George isn't able to take his own life. They celebrate over champagne. Laurie even suggests a trip to Paris. Terrible idea. But for now, all is well. Until Nick drops a book and it lands open to a page of a picture of someone drowning. That triggers a vision. Sirens, a dripping sink, a snake around a staff, and splattering blood. But who is next? The news reports that an unknown survivor from the Speedway crash has been identified, and Nick recognizes him as someone who died in the premonition before George. That means this unknown survivor is next, which means the only reason George couldn't die is because it wasn't his turn yet, not because they were saved. And that's rule number 5, the one we discovered when Eugene Dix tried to end his own life. Death decides when, not you. Nick rushes to the hospital and calls George to meet him there. They arrive just in time to witness the unknown survivor crushed by a bathtub, thanks to an orderly accidentally leaving the faucet on, leading to a bit of a flood. Now it's George's turn, and Nick sees what the snake in his vision was all about. It's the snake and staff symbol from ambulances. In this case, the one which runs over George as soon as they step outside. With him dead, Laurie should be next. Right now, she's at the mall with Janet to see the movie Love Lays Dying in 3D. A wink at the audience, since this was the first Final Destination movie shot in 3D. Nick rushes to the theater and begs them to leave. Laurie follows him out, while Janet refuses to believe they're still in danger. until a construction mishap leads to an explosion that flings a rod through her chest. More explosions follow. Nick and Lori end up on a busted escalator. The only thing stopping her from getting chewed up in the gears, his hand holding hers. But it slowly descends until she is fed to the machines. And Nick wakes up, back on the street, just before George is hit by that ambulance. It was another premonition. Too late to save George, but not too late for Lori and Janet. He rushes to the mall, only this time he changes tactics. He won't try to get them out. Instead, he'll try to stop the explosion at the source. It nearly gets him killed, but he just barely manages to put out the fire that will lead to the explosion. Finally, Nick, Janet, and Lori all walk out of the mall alive. But are they truly saved? How many times do I have to tell you this? No, of course not. 2 weeks later, they meet for coffee and a truck crashes into the cafe, killing all three of them. So what can we learn from all this carnage? Before we go through death's rules, let's talk about how you violate them to begin with. There are various ways characters foresee death in this franchise and therefore cheat it. It always starts with a vision, a premonition, where you live through your own impending demise. After that, when death comes back to collect what it's owed, signs appear in various ways. Subtle clues like a shadow, reflection, or torn paper. Sometimes signs appear in photos taken of future victims. In some cases, people will receive further visions, either as fragments or full-on premonitions like the one that saved them originally. Once you follow these premonitions or signs to cheat death, you face the rules. Number 1. If a group cheats death, it will come after them in the order they would have died, unless it was trying to kill them as part of a cleanup job due to indirect interference, in which case it'll kill them in reverse order. Makes sense? Rule number 2. If death is after you, you can buy more time by killing someone who is not on death's list. Whatever time they had left in life will instead be added to your life. Rule number 3. If someone intervenes to save someone from death, death will skip them and go to the next person on the list. If everyone is skipped, death will simply start over with whoever is still alive, so intervening buys a little extra time but doesn't actually save anyone. Rule number 4. Only new life can defeat death. But no one really knows what that means, and it doesn't actually work. But it might buy you a few years. Remember, Kimberly and Burke lived another 5 years after her resuscitation, so it may not be totally ineffective. And rule number 5, the final rule, you cannot die until death wants you to. If you try to take your own life before it's your turn, death will somehow make sure it doesn't work. That's all we've got for now, but hopefully Bloodlines keeps up the tradition of inventing new rules, twists, and turns with each entry, and of course that'll mean an update to this video, so stay tuned. I'm Gil, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more. With that, thank you for watching, and see you on the next One Take. See you on the next.
Shit. Solo level came out to the internet.